Romans 13:9, the commandments, sum up God's law. Romans 13:9 is one of the clearest New Testament affirmations that God's commandments are still binding. The Apostle Paul writes, "For this, thou shalt not commit adultery, thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not bear false witness, thou shalt not covet. And if there be any other commandment, it is briefly comprehended in this saying, namely, thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself." What is Paul doing here? He's quoting directly from the Ten Commandments, God's unchanging moral law. He's not replacing the commandments with love. He's saying love fulfills the commandments, not by cancelling them, but by living them out in action. Now, to every skeptic, pastor, or modern preacher who says the law has been abolished, disprove this verse. Paul doesn't teach that the commandments were nailed to the cross. He teaches that they are the very foundation of Christian love. You cannot love your neighbor while committing adultery. You cannot love your neighbor while stealing from them. You cannot love your neighbor while bearing false witness or coveting what they own. Paul is not dismissing the law, he's magnifying it. He's showing that love and law are not enemies, they are inseparable. Love is the fruit, but the law is the root. You cannot have real biblical love without obedience to God's law. And yet, many today twist Paul's letters to say the opposite. They quote Romans out of context and ignore the rest of Scripture. But let me remind you, the same Paul who wrote Romans 13 also said in Romans 3:31, "Do we then make void the law through faith? God forbid, yea, we establish the law." You cannot abolish what God said is holy, just, and good. Romans 7:12. You cannot cancel the law and still call yourself a follower of Jesus, who said, "If you love me, keep my commandments." John 14:15. And just to be clear, when Paul says, "If there be any other commandment," he's acknowledging all 10, including the fourth commandment. Remember the Sabbath day, to keep it holy. You want to love God? Then remember the day he set apart. The Sabbath is not legalism, it's loyalty. It's not bondage, it's freedom. It's a command from the same God who said, "Thou shalt not kill, and thou shalt not steal." Why do modern Christians treat 9 commandments as holy, but the Sabbath as optional? Because tradition has replaced truth. But Romans 13:9 doesn't support that. Paul includes the commandments. He honors them. He teaches that love fulfills them by keeping them, not by ignoring them. Now I challenge you, show me one verse, just one, that says God's moral law has been abolished. Show me where Paul says it's okay to commit adultery, steal, lie, covet, or break the Sabbath. You won't find it. Instead, you'll find verse after verse upholding the commandments, not as a means of salvation, but as the evidence of salvation. We are saved by grace through faith, yes, but we walk in obedience because we love the one who saved us. Disprove that if you can, but the word is clear. The commandments are not burdens, they are blessings. They protect relationships, they preserve love, they reflect the very character of God. Romans 13:9 isn't Paul throwing away the law, it's Paul echoing Jesus, who said all the law hangs on love for God and love for neighbor. But love without obedience is just emotion. It's empty. True love proves itself through action, and that action is obedience to the commandments of God. So next time someone tells you the law is done away with, ask them, which commandment are you willing to break? Because according to Romans 13:9, the whole law stands on love, and love always obeys.